The Tampon King gets back in the ring. Speaking of former VP nominee Tim Walz, he joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DNI.
But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
Greg Gutfeld absolutely destroys Tim Walz like a gluten-free piñata at a carnivore cookout. Minnesota's leadership turns into a non-stop stand-up set, with Gutfeld delivering punchlines sharper than the governor's policies. It's a roast hotter than Tim's approval rating is cold savage, relentless, and hilarious. When a smug TV host meets a governor who governs like he's lost in a Target parking lot, chaos and comedy ensues.
Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank in service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there!" and then ran away. Although Walz's actions look bad to veterans, Dems say these revelations could really help him win the coward votes.
If old school political leadership were a buffet, Tim Walz would be the lukewarm mashed potatoes bland, uninvited, yet somehow always on the plate. Enter Greg Gutfeld, wielding sarcasm like a chainsaw in a fireworks shop, tearing through Walz's nonsense with the finesse of a caffeinated Dexter doing stand-up. It's not governance. It's performance art of the art involved finger painting with expired mayonnaise. Gutfeld doesn't just critique Walz, he turns the governor's mediocrity into a full-blown comedy demolition.
Exploited his military background to cover up his crime. He said it was related to his service, and then he actually wasn't drunk. He just misheard the instructions and the drunk test. He blew the super high level. It was like, 0.2, driving 100 miles an hour. And then when he's running for office, he said he wasn't drunk. I mean, this guy has creep written all over. He created a snitch line, but lies about his personal infractions. He doesn't even own up to it. This is a guy who pushes a hoax about sex on a couch, and then the closer you look at him, he's a creepy.
Let's be honest, Tim Walz running Minnesota is like a substitute teacher trying to wrangle a classroom of caffeinated raccoons. He sounds like a guy who skimmed Leadership for Dummies and decided it was a complete political manifesto. And his execution flawless if the goal is to transform the land of 10,000 lakes into the land of 10,000 terrible ideas. It's chaos in khakis, masquerading as leadership.
Recently, Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to vote? How so? Math problems? But it's further proof that the most dangerous thing for a leftist is a follow-up question, which is why you never hear any. But I guess questioning elections is okay now.
Greg Gutfeld didn't even have to break a sweat roasting Tim Walz. It's like dunking on a guy wearing Crocs to a job interview blindfolded. Walz might as well have shown up to a debate with a kazoo and a whiteboard labeled feelings. He practically begged for it, handing Gutfeld a roast platter marked extra crispy and whispering, "Be savage." At this point, it's not satire, it's competitive sarcasm, and Walz arrived armed with glitter glue and a participation ribbon.
Strange.
Oh, he's strange.
He is strange. Him and I are the same age. How does he look so much younger?
No, he's a strange guy. He called up years ago. I was in the White House, and he said, "My house is being surrounded by people with American flags." I said, "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" He said, "I think they're going to attack me." This was during the riots and everything else. They were MAGA people. They like the American flag, all right? And they also had Trump. And I said, "How do you know?" There were about 15,000. He said, He said, could you put out a word like that I'm your friend? I don't even know him, but that's the only time I ever spoke to him. And if you look back long ago, tweets, before Truth, tweets, long ago, I put out a statement, he's a good man, the governor. He's on our side. I didn't know him, but I didn't want him to get hurt. And everybody put down their flags and they left. He said it was a miracle. He said it was a miracle.
Let's start with the economy. Tim Walz looked at inflation, unemployment, and a mass business exodus and thought, you know what'll fix this? More taxes. Oxygen tax it. Miles driven tax those too. Thinking about moving to South Dakota, that'll cost you. Businesses are fleeing Minnesota like it's a haunted house made of COVID mandates and social justice PowerPoints. Enter Greg Gutfeld, tearing through Walz's economic policies like a raccoon in a compost bin. He practically yelled, how do you make California look like a capitalist dreamland in comparison under Walz? The only things growing are government paperwork and the collective migraine of the middle class. Now on to crime. Walz treats public safety the way a toddler treats matches hopeful, clueless, and ending in sirens. His crime policy seems to be blame society, hold hands, and hope criminals are inspired by interpretive dance. It's like passing out scented candles in a burning building. Optimistic, maybe. Effective, not even close. Just more chaos dressed up as compassion.
Same bad cocaine, but Kamala can't speak, he can't speak, Biden was so I couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show. And I said this in the pod. He's a clown without a circus. He's just he's roaming the terrain. Is there some carnival that I can work for? I'll watch your windows.
He's a rogue clown.
Yes.
Who is just an inconsequential footnote to vice presidential history.
Yeah.
No one will remember his name on trivia night, and that's going to be in 3 months.
Meanwhile, Gutfeld's on stage doing stand-up with statistics, practically holding up a map of Minnesota, labeled here, be carjackings across the Twin Cities. He likened Walz's crime strategy to a mall cop trying to stop a riot with a kazoo and a clipboard. If Tim Walz were in charge of national security, we'd all be brushing up on our Russian by next week. And then there's education, that glittering dumpster fire. Walz, a former teacher, because of course has transformed Minnesota classrooms into sanctuaries of woke word salad. Forget math and science kids are now graded on their ability to spot microaggressions and build safe spaces out of popsicle sticks. Gutfeld didn't just mock it, he obliterated it, saying the only test students consistently pass is How to Be Perpetually Offended 101. Under Walz, education isn't about learning anymore, it's about performance art. Students don't earn knowledge, they earn participation trophies and TikTok therapy sessions. It's not a school system, it's an emotional playground where critical thinking gets expelled for hurt feelings.
Especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Dude. You're an old white guy. And you're right, you are a huge disappointment. I guess hating himself is the first thing he's nailed correctly. Because Waltz saying old white men suck isn't a political stance, it's his confession. Waltz calling people old and white is like Maxine Waters making fun of someone for shopping at Wigs R Us. He wants to execute more DEI policies, and Trump wants to execute murderous gang members. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see